Okay, welcome to Christian Men Unscripted. I'm your host, Alan Underwood. I'm back with Seth Lazan and John Harney.
Seth is back.
I can't hear anything.
Now
I can.
Yeah, he unplugged her ears.
It's a mess. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know how I'm going to edit this one.
It'll be fine. No editing needed.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, Seth. You weren't here last week for our recording.
Yeah, I know.
And a video recording. Did you watch it on YouTube yet?
I watched some of it. You guys are so boring.
So boring, dude. We blew it, bro.
I was like, you guys need me. That was my job. I was like, I don't know if you guys need me, but then I watched job security.
Listen, I'm not kidding. Here's what we said, dude. Alan and I are on the phone, and I was like, bro, I'm pretty sure our next episode is going to be about how we blew it, basically, because I tried to watch, now that we're on YouTube, obviously, and I don't, personally, I'll regularly listen to something as opposed to watching, right? Because you can listen while you're driving. But okay, so we're doing YouTube though. We're trying to get into a new digital area. We sort of talked about that, but Seth, you were gone. Mm-hmm. Alan and I, dude, I tried to watch it just to kind of see how the edits are. And by the way, Alan, nice job. He's adding in he added in a Bible verse.
Yeah, Alan made it better for sure.
And he made fun of me a little bit by zooming in or whatever. So it was good. The point is though, dude, it was almost torturous. And so I want to apologize to any listener or watcher now, I suppose. We blew it, dude. We blew it big time. So then Alan is like, we got to make fun of that. He's like, well, and it'll be nice to have Seth back because we can make fun of Seth. I said, no, we can't make fun of him because we're the ones who blew it. And so Seth is going to have a big head because he's going to be like, oh, no, you guys clearly need me. I swear, I already said it, dude.
He did say that.
Oh, really? I didn't.
That's how you started it.
Yeah. I'm just saying, dude. So like you said, you didn't even listen to the whole thing, Seth.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you started it and you were like,
I basically fell asleep.
I can't even do this, dude.
I
can't do it this Dan.
Alan is over fidgety over here. We're trying to start the podcast, and he has unplugged and plugged and moved things 30 times.
It's a pain. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure this out on the fly. I got help, so
this is our second or our third, technically our third recorded one, but this is kind of our second, we're actually trying.
Yeah. Because the first one we just threw the camera on there and we only had one, so this one we got a couple, but it's still a mess. I don't know what I'm doing here yet.
We'll get better. Yeah. Listening audience, just keep listening.
Yeah.
Watching audience, apologies. How about that? And we'll see. We'll get better. I think we will.
All right.
I think we will. That's the goal. But anyway, dude, we blew it. I mean, I just want to point this out, right? Here we had an opportunity. Did you guys know that we have been on over a year?
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought it was a year in September. Did you know?
Yeah.
Did you know when we met and recorded and blew it?
Oh, no. I knew it's been over a year because they tell me on the apps and stuff.
Oh, see.
Congratulations. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, congratulations to you guys. You've been on over a year.
Yep.
That's fantastic. And then, but I'm saying we blew two things. We blew the opportunity to have hey, it's our 1 year, blah, blah, blah.
Big party.
And then we blew the opportunity to have a good video when it was just you and I.
I think this one's going to be worse than the first one.
I don't know. I think
just the video part.
Just the video. I think my face and my voice will help add some.
Yeah, bring something. It brings something.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that topic, we blew it. Do you have any stories of when you have blown it, whether it's here at the podcast, like last week, Alan and I have? Seth, what about you? Do you have, off the top of your head, look, we're unscripted. I didn't even tell you I was going to ask you this. Can you think of a time where you blew it? Because I've got one I can think of. My wife has already brought it up, though, when she was a guest once.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say, I have one where you blew it, Seth. And I just want you to know about that.
I do, actually.
Yeah.
But I don't want to bring it up yet. Do you have another one besides the homeless guy that you didn't hug who needed a hug?
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, I've blown it a bunch of times. Losing tempers on kids, on little in the mall, where's your mom? You're the worst kid now.
Yeah.
Not getting good gifts.
Yeah.
As you alluded to your Mother's Day snafu.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's plenty of times, even relationally with my wife, just kind of not being the husband she wants, someone pursuing her, where
that makes
it's
sense.
I know. I'm just I think that's one of the big ones is when I first get married, I was like, yes, I got her, and I really worked hard the first couple months to make sure that she was really loved, and then I was like, all right, we're in it, and then she just didn't feel pursued, and that led to several arguments, and I was like, oh man, I really need to step it up and make sure that my wife feels loved and pursued, that I give her the words that she needs, the that I try to serve her in different ways. Like, I don't notice things. I don't know if you guys are familiar with. Like, I'll just walk by things, and she's like, "Why the heck did you walk by that mess?" And I was like, "What mess?" And she's like, "You can't see that?" And I'm like, "No, I can't see that. There's no mess to me." And she's like, "What the heck?" So, I mean, and we talked about this a little bit maybe during our when you wanted to burn down your garage. And
unrelated, we've got a new house after the insurance settlement. I'm totally kidding.
Yeah, well, that's kind of similar to us, as we've had so many times where I didn't look at things that the way my wife sees them, and I was like, "You're crazy." I mean, I didn't really say that. Usually I apologize really quickly, and then that causes more. It's like, "I want you to talk to me," and I'm just like, I don't know what to do.
We get so lost as guys in those, right? Yes,
right. So I mean, those are times where I've blown it, and but had to really be like, all right, I need to make a really concerted effort to see things the way my wife sees them, to not apologize too quickly, to think about and say exactly what I apologize for, instead of being like, "Hey, I'm sorry." Like, what are you sorry for? God, I wish I knew. I just wanted to be over. But
yep, I just want to pop smoke and get picked up. That's literally get me out of this situation right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. What about you, Alan? When you've blown it?
I guess when I proposed to my wife.
Tell us about that.
Well, we were 19, so we got married young. I was young. I remember I was like going in the Navy, and I was like, I should marry her so I don't, because she was pretty good looking and I wasn't. And I was like, I don't want to mess this up, so I better get it married at 19.
100% makes sense.
So we're walking down the street. I'm like, hey, what do you think? Why don't we get married? She said no.
Really?
And then I just kept bugging her. I'm like, come on, let's do it. Come on. And eventually she said, yeah, now 32 years later, here we are.
Poor girl.
So I would say I blew
Poor
that. I blew that. Yeah. And then, got 2 kids that they're a mess. No, I'm just kidding. They're not. They're
great.
good.
Yeah, they're great.
But yeah, I would say that was like, I feel like I wish I could do that over. I wish I could propose, do it the right way. But at 19, I was like, I got to marry her because I'm in love with her at 19, and I've been in love with her ever since. So it's good. But it worked out, but it was not a great proposal.
That's funny. You just said the word do over, like you could wish you could do it over, right?
Yeah.
I would say that's one of my big things as well, right? The proposal of my wife was similar to yours, where we were young. I wasn't real spiritual and stuff, so we were actually buying a house together, and literally went to get a loan for a house when we were barely dating. And the guy was like, "This would be way better if you were married." And I think we shared this when the women were on, but yeah, I just looked at her and was like, "I'm off Monday." It was like a Friday afternoon. And that was our proposal. And here we are 30 years later, basically, right? So it worked. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. But I do. Same deal. I wish I could go back. I wish I could be better, make it a big deal, give her the dumb movie dream thing, right? Because we look at it, and the movies make every girl think that it's got to be some spectacular thing. And that's mostly pop culture, but there's probably some reality to that. They need to know.
Yeah, there should be more romance in it, probably.
Yeah.
Get down on your knee, ask the dad. I didn't ask her dad.
Sounds like there's some vow renewals coming up in the future.
There might be, dude.
No, probably not.
I did get to ask my father-in-law, full disclosure. So but that same day, because I was like, hey, I would like to marry your daughter Monday. It's Friday evening. How are you doing?
Just so we can get this house, get a discount.
Exactly. Oh,
it's very romantic.
On another topic,
Yeah, well, for my wife, we were broken up when I asked her dad if I could marry her.
Ah.
So we were not dating at the time. But so I was like, I should marry her. It's one of those things where it's like I was afraid to commit. And then I was like, either I'm going to commit or I'm not. And so I decided to commit, and she didn't know about it. We weren't even dating.
Oh. No, it's nothing like going to her dad and arranging that marriage without her consent. Perfect.
Yeah.
We don't know what religious organization you're from, bro.
It was an arranged marriage. I asked her at a Detroit Tigers baseball game.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But my mom actually almost ruined it. So she ruins turkey.
Your mom comes again.
No,
your mom is awesome. Tell us the story.
No, so I was like, hey, I want you to come to this baseball game with my family and I. And she was like, I don't know if I can get it off. And I was like, oh, can you try? And then I left it there. And I told my mom that, and she's like, I hope she can get it off. And then she texts her, you really need to get off so you can come to this game with us. And I was like, Mom, like, there's no way she doesn't know that that's now, like, this is, and I was like, you totally just gave it away.
Red flags.
But my wife called my mother-in-law and was like, I think Seth's going to propose. Like, I just got this weird text. And she's like, no, but I had asked them that, a few days before that. So she covered for me so that Britt had no idea it was coming. And we did it on a carousel. And she was like, oh, very excited. It was very...
Oh, okay. So it worked out great.
It worked out great. But I was really upset with my mom there for a little bit.
But let's talk about that with your mom asking her or giving her the heads up. Like, you really need to come. And did she throw in anything like, make sure you wear something kind of nice, throw some lipstick on? She didn't do any of that kind of stuff?
She didn't do... I mean, she like did like those 3 dots. Like, it's like, I that's something coming... I don't know why, she just made it very obvious that I was going to try to do, something.
Yeah, the 3 dots, the ominous, there's something more to come.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something more coming.
So did he go on the Jumbotron and propose on there?
No, I asked her friend. I was like, hey, do you think she'd like that? And her friend was like, nah, she wouldn't like that at all. So I didn't. But then later, Britt was like, why didn't you put on the Jumbotron? I was like, your best friend told me not to do it.
Yep.
So she's like, you shouldn't listen to her. And I was like, well, I did, okay?
Best friend didn't want to be one-upped, dude. I hate to say it. It's just how it was, right?
And that's probably what it was,
Yeah, poor girl. I did, on that same note, too, like, kind of surprising. I was already married. My poor wife had, like, a massive migraine. I don't remember... Alan, did you come when I surprised my wife for like her 20th or 30th birthday? It's probably her 30th, I'm guessing. It was a long time ago.
Jeez.
A long time ago. And her mom happened to be in town, and she had this terrible migraine, but I had already set up, I think at like Buca de Beppo, I had already set up a huge surprise party at a restaurant. And she's like, I don't, hey, we're going to go to dinner. Your mom's in town. And she's like, I can't. I just feel terrible. I'm sick. I don't have a migraine. But you really need to go. Dude, I have like a restaurant full of people, And then, so she finally, her mom is like, babe, just let's go eat. I'm hungry and nobody feels like cooking. We'll just eat and make it, easy. So Amy just throws on like sweats or like pajamas, like no makeup, no nothing, feels like total garbage. And to this day, she will bring that up because she walks in and there's this huge party. She was like my mom could have at least been like, maybe we're in public, throw some lipstick on, right? Put your hair up or something. Like maybe put on a pair of pants, ditch the pajama pants or whatever.
Right.
And so she's like, it was like the worst surprise party ever. So I blew it on that one. Speaking of blowing it, taking this thing full circle, I blew it on that one too.
Yeah.
I blew it on that one.
That's funny.
I think that's the only time I've ever blown it. I've been pretty good for 30,
pretty
40
perfect.
Years.
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
okay, good job.
Yeah. No, I mean, I blew it with a homeless person.
Yeah, I've blown it.
I know I bring it up. I guess because I'm learning from it myself every time I think of it.
Yeah,
because
that's good.
I blow it. Matter of fact, I would have blown it the other day. There was some guy walking around asking for stuff, and it was my wife who kind of pushed me. Hey, go talk to him, because I was like, I don't have any cash, blah, blah, blah. She's like, I have money. I was like, that's okay. I'm already done pumping gas. I'm heading to Costco kind of thing. She's like, I have money. He's still over there. I see him. I was like, but I mean, it's kind of the moment has passed. And it was my wife who was like, I mean, babe, you better probably talk to him. I know you'll regret it, kind of a thing. And so anyway, thank God for my wife being my she was a little conscious on my shoulder.
She was an angel.
Yeah, she was the little thing on the shoulder. They're like, you need to go do it. And the other side, she was on the other side now. She was wearing some smoking hot red outfit. And she was like, let's just go to Costco. This is awesome. Anyway,
keep your money.
Yeah, keep your money.
Yeah. No, so, my wife is the same way. Like, I'm like, whatever. We're over here. They're on that side. She's like, no, we need to give money. And I'm like, I kind of blow it in the generosity department sometimes, where my wife is way more willing to be generous. And I'm like, I don't know if I should. And she's like, do you even follow Jesus? And I was like, all right, hey, I guess I blew that.
Pastor Seth, how you feeling on your following of Jesus? Right. And also on blowing it, I got to share this, you guys. I blew it right before I came here, actually. I just thought of it because we're talking about our wives all of a sudden. And my wife got home, and as you also brought it up, that I wanted to burn my garage down because it's so full of stuff, and it still is. So my wife just got home an hour before I came here to meet you guys to do this podcast. And as she pulls in, I'm actually out in the garage trying to get a blower, to blow the leaves or whatever, which, by the way, also I showed my intellect because it was windy outside. Why am I blowing? I'm like fighting the force of nature with a remote, a battery-powered blower. Like, who's the idiot in this one? But I'm out there. Right as I'm out there doing this, my wife pulls in, and I'm having to tiptoe step. I'm not kidding. Like, trying to keep my balance while I step through all the crap in my garage. Right when she pulls up and she gets out, and she's like, hey, babe. And I'm like, one of these days you're going to come in here and I'm going to be tripped. I hope I'm just dead. I hope I'm not paralyzed from tripping over all this stuff, right? I'm just being honest. That was my response. I was just like, she just caught me at that second, right? And what did I do? I turned, literally, if she had a switch of like happiness and joy, I just like leaned over and just slammed it down. Yeah. Like, just turn that switch off. Get that out of here.
She's like, hey, babe, I love you so much. You're like, yeah, well, I could have been dead if you didn't do it.
And then we're in the house, and now you can tell she's mad. And now I'm doing what you were just talking about, Seth, like kind of the halfway, like, I'm sorry, whatever I did, sorry. Hey, get back to being nice and cute and everything. I need you to be nice and cute in this moment. And she was just like, after what I just like came to, that brings me to another point about blowing it, though. Genuine apologies. Mm-hmm. So then that's something I really am working on. I'm praying that I see people more, like really see them. Mm-hmm. And that I'm way more genuine and that I actually share that. And so I really did. Then I'd jump in the shower, I'm doing stuff. And I see my wife and she's getting ready, to go whatever she's doing. And I really did have that sense of conviction. Like, I really need to make sure she knows, like, I'm so sorry. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, all you did was pull into the garage, and I just like jumped on you like a panther out of the tree, dude, ready to just destroy you. Oh, for no reason, it's my fault. I got to clean the garage out. So apologies, try to get better at them.
Yeah, I do that all the time. You get frustrated. You come in, you're a long day. It's hot. We had that podcast as well, and I'm like, nobody cleaned up the poop. Why am I always cleaning up dog poop?
You just are angry.
And they're like, because you wanted the dogs. I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. And there's like
I just want a little help around here, guys.
I do everything.
Yeah, now that's another topic right there, isn't that funny? Yeah. But
you always feel like you do everything. I think I heard my wife say that a couple of weeks ago. She was mad. She's like, I had to do everything around here. And I'm like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I cleaned the poop. I took out the trash. I dusted the house. I'm like, okay. She's like, shut up.
Yeah.
I did everything
she didn't really say shut up.
that actually goes full circle as well. Not only blowing it, but consideration. How Seth even says, like, he walks past stuff, doesn't even recognize that would be something that your wife would consider to be a problem. Or your wife feels, Alan, like she did all this stuff.
I think she was mainly talking about the cooking and cleaning.
But I mean, if you think about it. Like,
but yeah, she does.
Can we learn as men, as husbands, to be more considerate of, like, what does our wife see as a need, or what would be helpful, or how could I be better by not just pouncing on her on a dirty garage when it's not even her fault, kind of a thing. The thought of consideration, right? We end up blowing it because we lack consideration, and so we need to get better. I don't know. Did you have any suggestions on how to get better at that, you guys?
No, I don't.
Thanks for listening.
And that's a wrap. We're going to close on that, you guys. You're screwed, fellas.
It's hard for me to change habits, man. I'm 51 years old. I'm like, this is who I am.
This is me.
Yeah, you're stuck.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have said no. You shouldn't have said yeah. You should have stuck to your guns on 32 years ago.
Yeah, after you romantically pestered her for weeks. Yeah. Or Seth went and forced her, his father-in-law.
Even the first date, I'm like, hey, we're going to the movies tonight. You can go if you want. That was my first time asking her out. I didn't know what I was doing.
Dude, oh my gosh.
Funny. Well, I mean, I think that's a good point. It's, when you look at mistakes you've made or things you shouldn't have done, or that you blew when you should have done something different, to look at it and be like, how could I have done it a little differently? How could I have come in here, or when my wife interacts with me and comes and says, hey babe, how you doing? How do I not react in
how am I doing? Like I do everything. That's how I'm right.
Yeah. But I think that's a good point. Even with our with you guys not having me, you guys were like, Steph, we need you back. We blew it. So
we need a do-over. Guys, everybody in life always wants. Isn't that funny too, the concept of do-overs? Like, I wish I could do that differently. I wish I could do that better. But the reality is, let's get into Christianity stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Let's dog on Alan for a second, because you were like, I'm 51 years old, this is how I am.
Mm-hmm.
When you're actually a work in progress always, because you believed in Jesus, and it really isn't. So it's really not a true statement, because we have this conversation off the air, that you're actually a work in progress, and you actually do look back and think, okay, I could have done that better. And you don't get a do-over, but you get to do better next time.
Right. Do better next time. I like that. I was joking, obviously, but I feel like I'm doing better. I feel like when I wake up every day, I try to do better. I try to, put that full armor of God on and not let it fall off.
It gets hot though. You're like, oh, this helmet is hot, bro. This breastplate is hot. I'm gonna need to take this off for a sec.
Yeah, but when I do things. I'm like, no, not a good idea.
Yeah, I mean,
it's, before I'd be like, who cares? I'll do it.
Right.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think my wife would probably agree. She'd probably listen to this eventually and be like, yeah, no, he's different. I think every day I work to improve. I think we all do. Maybe not Seth, but I do. You do.
Well, we've already had this discussion about
He's
Seth.
Perfect.
He doesn't
He doesn't need to.
No, he don't need
He's
to work
perfect.
on. He's good to go. Matter of fact, he should just pump the brakes a little bit and go left a little sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Would you like a beer?
I drink beer. Like
No,
we need to crack this kid a beer, dude.
A near beer.
No, I actually don't really drink beer. I drink like
really?
the hard ciders.
Oh, geez. Of course you do.
That makes sense.
That's it. Because apparently I'm not very badly. Yeah.
No, not at all. What is it? What's a hard cider? Mike's Hard Lemonade or something?
No, that's a hard lemonade.
Cider. I don't know what a hard cider is.
It's like apple cider. It's
juice.
apple cider. Yeah, it's
That's
like
fermented enough that it's got alcohol content in it.
Hey, you know what? Ciders and those special drinks, they have more alcohol content than beers.
I mean, I suppose it depends on the beer, but okay, we don't need.
Okay, that's true.
All right, well, that's fine. By the way, there's some delicious beers out there.
Yeah.
Do-overs. Let's talk about it for a second. Okay, so your wife, like you said, she says you are a work in progress. You're getting better. She sees it. But then,
I don't know. I mean, I think so.
I think she probably does.
Well, I mean, we've said it in the podcast. Like,
Yeah.
4 years ago, you were going to a different church.
But
and
has
then,
it stopped? Has it been like, okay, good, I'm here, boom, done?
Never stops.
Yeah.
That's the issue,
But
right?
I'm saying, does she think that?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're going to have to get the wives back on.
Ooh,
now that we're on video, too.
I mean, did you hit a point where you're like, oh, I believe in Jesus and I'm going to change how I do things, but I'm not going to change these things. I'm not going to change getting mad because you guys leave dishes in the sink. I'm not going to, I mean, I don't know. Does she feel that way? Do your wives feel like, oh no, he's good, perfect now? Or are there things you can improve on and do over?
Ooh, Seth, what do you got on that? Because I know my answer is yeah. Like I, of course, wish I could do better every time. And I'll feel like I'm doing great for days or whatever. And then all of a sudden it's like that whole 3 steps forward and 5 steps back all of a sudden sometimes with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
Same.
got?
So do you just go forward 3 steps, then always go back 5? Because you're behind
I'm
where
way
you
back.
should have been. You should be farther ahead, but you're farther behind.
Always. That's how I feel.
All right.
There's a Greek character that's always pushing a rock up a sandy hill and it just never stops. Sometimes I feel like that.
Oh gosh, what is it?
Yeah.
No, that's not it. That's a Bible character.
To be honest,
gosh, what's his name?
You can make up whoever you want because I don't know, but I know that there's one that exists, and that's how I feel sometimes.
Prometheus.
No.
That's just a name.
I mean, I'll probably come.
We've got
think
Google
of it,
machines. We'll Google it in a while for our listening audience's pleasure and edification to help them to learn Greek mythology, even though we're a Christian podcast.
Yeah. If we had 30 seconds of dead air, I could probably think of it, but I don't know if I want to do that.
No.
But as you were saying, like we do have to improve. Like instead of doing, just say, I need a do-over. I want to do better next time. That reminds me of a really good movie. You guys, maybe you've seen it. It's called Frozen 2.
No, I haven't even seen it. I didn't even like the first one.
That's right, your kids are old. Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you something. There's this song.
No, I watched it last night after everybody went to bed.
That's good. Yeah, no. Frozen 2 there's a song. It's talking like Anna's sister. She thinks she's dead, and she's like, I have to, even when you're not there, I have to do the next right thing. And I was like, that could preach. Even if you make a mistake, you still can do the next right thing. Because sometimes what you can do is one day you make a mistake in the morning, you're like, I'll do better tomorrow. And you just stay in that kind of negative mindset. Mm-hmm. And you can listen to those negative things. As I've talked about before, is the soundtracks we play in our heads often can cause us to stay stagnant or stay in that negative place. But if we tell ourselves to think differently, or we renew our mind, or we, instead of focusing on the negative thing, to focus on the true and the lovely and the good thing, then that can change the way that we see that situation. As I've quoted many times, Brother Lawrence, he's the Lord of all, he's the saint of the pots and pans.
In the last 2 weeks without you.
Really?
Somebody sent me a picture of a book because they listened to the podcast. They're like, I have this book. You think that's what Seth was talking about? I'm like, I don't care.
Practicing the presence of God. It's called Practicing the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence.
Yep. And then I heard it on, I was listening to SOS Radio, and they were like, hey, Brother Lawrence. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Well,
he's everybody's brother.
Maybe.
Yeah, he is.
Is it on Audible?
Yeah, it's probably an Audible. It's I have the book if you want to borrow it.
Is it Audible?
Okay, quote him again.
All right. So I've said this before, but he says that if I do something bad, like he always tries to keep the Lord ever before him in everything that he does. He says if he looks back at his day and finds that he didn't honor God in some things that he did, he would say, Lord, I can do no better apart from you. Mm-hmm. And then he would leave it there. He wouldn't keep dwelling on it and leave it there and just say, Lord, I need your strength to go forward and do this. And so he would, and I think one thing that we can do is he looked back at his day and said, how did I honor God today? And then he said, there are times where I didn't really follow him in my life. And he acknowledged that, but he saw that, but he also said, Lord, I can't dwell on that. I'm going to give that to you, and I want you to empower me to not do that again and to stay focused on you throughout my day. And I think that's an important thing for us to renew our mind, is say, what am I going to think on? Am I going to think on those things, the ways that I messed up or that I want to do over, or the things that I've blown? Do I want to do that, or do I want to focus on something where it's like I can move forward with the power of God and become who he has created me to be?
Yeah, that's good. Because, honestly, we really are always meant to grow for the positive. But I really do. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like I screw up. Like, I'll do great. And then instead of a casual mess up, I blow up like I explode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's something I still need to work on for sure. Yeah.
Well, it's not necessarily, like we said, it's not that we're comparing ourselves to other people. Mm-hmm. For us, we want to make sure that we're growing beyond where we were yesterday. So other people might be, more perfect than you are. Like, you guys always seem to think that I'm. But what I'm saying is we're trying to grow beyond
we have a hard time relating today. To you, Seth. We have a hard time relating to you because of the drudgery we have been involved in and the charmed, holy, and spiritual life you have lived. So it's it's why you're here, though, because we need someone who's grounded like that, and the rest of us we just muddle through it. That's what we're here for.
When we talk about police stories with death and destruction, his face just turns pale.
He's like, you guys.
No, you guys have great stories, and it is. You guys saw some really dark things.
Yeah, that's fair.
And you guys are here now, and other people have not gotten over the darkness, as we've talked before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's a whole. You could go into a super deep and dark topic on that one, but
all to say is that where you were yesterday is not where you are today. Right. My pastor says sometimes that we want to be around people who believe that their tomorrow is better than their yesterday. And I think that's something that we need to really be like, hey, today I'm great today, but tomorrow I'm going to be even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we even supposed to look forward to tomorrow, or are we supposed to just live in the here and now?
We got to look forward to tomorrow. You want Seth can
tomorrow's
answer that,
not given.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, you can. There's a whole thing, right? That's James chapter 4.
That's what I'm talking about.
Where they say, we can't say we're going to be here, go here and there and make money, but that has to do with a heart issue and a focus.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that's slightly different. Is we do want to be in the present. If we're focusing and worrying about other things, then that's something we shouldn't be doing. But if we're believing that me trying to follow God today is going to make it so that I'm stacking that habit. There's this new thing called stacking habits, they say.
That's usually say stacking cash. I'm like, what are you doing?
Stacking habits. No, so it's just you do just one little habit, you stack it over time, and you become this better at this thing. Sure. And so that's a new psychological term. I don't know what it is, but so you
stacking habits.
I get it, because
stack those habits.
All it is new phraseology for the same thing. Build habits, build good habits. They build good character. They build whatever.
So it's the same thing, but that's what they call it now. Stacking habits. So everything, and then tomorrow I'll be able to perform the duties of the Christian life better than I was today. Right. And I think that's an important thing for us to think about too, is how am I living the Christian life? Is it something where I'm constantly thinking, I'm just blowing it, and so I'm never going to make it or to improve? Or is it something where it's, we've talked about this before. Alan has talked about where he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" at the CVS restaurant, CVS thing. What is it called?
Like
cashier.
The cashier at the drugstore.
It's a drugstore.
Yeah, it's not the restaurant. They sell food there too.
Fine.
Okay,
Yeah, they do. You can get
It's not a restaurant food.
yeah, well, you could eat it there, and you could be like, "Hey, thank you." Here's a tip. I'm gonna do that later just to make it reality.
Okay. Film that.
Yeah, that'll be a good reel for our social media. But you were saying that there was a guy that you had talked to, and he said,
"How you doing?"
Hey, and you were
I said, "How you doing?" He goes, "Well, said, it's been a terrible day." Yeah. I'm like, "Well, I don't really care. I didn't mean it."
Awful.
I just
awful. I hate that.
And when I left, I was like, "Man, what a jerk I am."
I even feel bad. Yeah.
Well, and I saw a homeless guy, and he was like, "I just need a hug."
Yeah.
I feel really sad, and I feel like this is the end. And I looked at it, and I just drove off. And he looked like he was crying, and my callous heart was like, you know what? I'm not gonna stop. And I drove back several times, and I was like, hey, is he there? He's never seen him there again. And I have regretted that because I blew it.
Yeah.
But we learn from the moments when we make mistakes.
We do better next time.
Mm-hmm.
We do better next time. I mean, honestly, and that's. I want to share that a couple of points both of you guys made. Actually, they tie together because, like I said, I've been in James for a long time. Like that's what I'm sharing at church.
Sounds boring.
I can tell you this: it's convicting. That's for sure.
No, just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's super convicting. The end of the chapter 1, first chapter of James. It's James actually kind of breaks down 3 things right at the very end, where he says something to the effect of like pay attention to your communication because that matters. And here's what real religion looks like, basically, when he says, like, you take care of the widows and the orphans. And then he says, and don't let yourself be stained by the world. And so that has to do with conduct. Mm-hmm. And so what he's kind of getting at is like, look, we're in the world, we're not of it. We know the terminology in Christianity, right? Like, we're a believer, we have to live in this world, but we're not of this world system, right? We have a future home. But you already keyed in on it. My Christianity, my walk, looks different than someone else's. Where I'm at looks different than someone else's. Yeah. Like someone who just believes in Jesus but is still dealing with addiction and maybe violence at the home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They are just now starting their journey. And so for them to sit with Seth, you know what I mean? Like someone who's raised in a Christian home, gone to a Christian school, been a pastor, it's, all of these things. If you were to play relative righteousness, you're at 2 totally different places, but you're both going in the same direction. You're still both going in the same direction. And by the way, you're still both vastly short of the perfection of God. Mm-hmm. And so kind of as you're moving forward to that point, though, Alan, you then brought up literally something from later on in James where he says, we can't boast about going here or there to make money. We don't know if we're even going to be, the next moment is given to us. I'm paraphrasing big time. But that's actually just for our listeners, well, that's a little bit of a different thought. That's more because, hey, we want to make money, investments, et cetera. And so that's actually talking about kind of trying to just basically put your hopes and your trust solely in your physical future, apart from your walk with the Lord to glorify God in Christ. Does that make sense? And I'm not trying to split hairs on that. I'm just saying it's always good to look forward to doing better the next time because you're growing, to balance out what Alan said, with the knowledge that if that's God's will and plan that I'm even going to be here tomorrow, like kind of really genuinely just trusting, like God's got me no matter what. But I really do want to do better if I get another chance because I just don't want to blow it. I don't want to keep blowing it. Yeah.
Well, and I think to kind of come back to what we've talked about before is genuine repentance. Like living a genuinely repentant life is going to impact the way that we see our failures or see our times when we've blown it up or we've blown it.
Or blown it up. I've never blown it. I haven't blown things up since I was a kid.
I know. But sometimes we make decisions that could potentially blow up our lives.
Oh, that's a fair point.
See, that's what I was going for, I think. Yeah. No, I wasn't. Yeah. But living a genuinely repentant life, as we talk about with our wives, when I say I'm sorry, like it's not actually like she's like that's not actually restoring the relationship right here. You're just trying to get past this thing.
I just want to hurry up and get back to what I was watching on TV.
I want to get past this little snafu. But if I'm not genuinely repentant or genuinely sorry for what happened, my relationship isn't going to be restored with my wife, just like it's not going to be restored with the Lord. If I'm not living a genuinely repentant life, when I blow it, then that just becomes a bigger separation from the Lord if I'm not living in genuine. I'm just like, oh Lord, sorry. Please forgive me, but I'm not genuinely repentant. And I think that's an important thing.
How do you know if you're genuinely repentant? How would you know?
That's a good question.
Because I can sit there and tell you, yeah, sorry, Lord. Is it because if you just keep doing it over and over?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
because I wonder. Like, I feel like, okay, I commit a sin, I lust, or I judge, or I do this, but I keep doing it, and I'm like trying not to do it. I'm like, am I really sorry? Because I keep doing it. But it's like we are sin. I mean, I live in this world of sin, and I definitely want to get better. So how do you know? I mean, only God knows your heart, but how do I know? How do you know? Like, if you keep doing it, how do you know? Because you keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of reminds me of Hebrews 10:20-something.
Yeah, and I don't mean to interrupt you, because I wonder, because I'll do something, like I'll get mad or get angry, or like I've talked about being mad at people in general lately and judging people all the time. Like, who do you're just doing this for attention, and you just do this for that. But then in my heart, I'm like, why am I so angry at people right now? Why do people make me mad? And I'm like, I go on before bed, I pray for my family, and I'm like, Lord, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get past this, I'll try and do better, but I keep doing it. Do I just say that because it's something I want to say, or do I truly mean it? And I feel like I truly mean it, but why do I do it again the next day? And just go, oh.
You're jumping onto a super loaded topic.
Yeah.
Even know the Apostle Paul says, right? He writes that, like, the things I know I should do, that I want to do, I don't. And I think, did we talk about that on the last
podcast? Yeah.
And then we're also, what you're talking about is, 1 John 1:9, confession, right? Which is this word homologeo. It's a Greek word that it basically means you're agreeing with God that you have sinned, that you're off track. We talked about that. Sin is missing the mark, what God has for your life. But simply confessing it. We've had this as an episode. In fact, Seth, I remember you bringing up some great points on it, right? Where genuine repentance, how do you know? Let's go back to your question. So you confess it because you know it's wrong. Right. So you know it's wrong because you know it's wrong. Whatever it is, right? We don't even have to make up anything. Just something you recognize is just off in your life between you and God. And so you have to confess that. Okay, God, I agree. How do you know that you're genuinely repentant? I would say that one, it's cool that you're cognitively aware of it, so you recognize that. Right, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. But if immediately while you're confessing it in your mind, you already know that you want to go back to it, or that you intend to go back to it. I'm not saying that you might on accident. I'm saying that you just kind of know, like, I'm just trying to go through the mechanics.
I got to change.
You know that you're a work in progress, but you have a genuine, the Bible, people use the word contrite heart, a broken heart. God wants us to have a broken heart. He wants us to have that, not in a bad way, not because he wants us to be sad and broken heart. He wants us to have a genuine, like, God, I really want to follow you. I really want to trust you. I really want to be a part of following you, that I might represent you better,
Yeah.
And so I think the short answer is, I don't know. And the long answer is, I think it's a personal thing. If you personally recognize, like, man, it really bothers me. Not only have I confessed it to God, but I actually really genuinely don't want to have to keep confessing this to God, so I really want to do a work.
Right.
So what do you have to do? You have to replace your efforts with what God has already given us, which is the Word of God. You have to get in the Word of God and start reading and studying and having not because you're trying to just read it, but to really see the character.
Yeah. It's kind of what we talked about last podcast.
As you learn and you see these stories, and that helps you to grow. We have the benefit to learn from the mistakes of those people who are recorded in the Bible, so that we can do better if we're in the same situation.
Yeah.
Kind of going back to blowing it and doing better.
Yeah.
Those stories are for our benefit. And so I can't say how do you know, right? But I can say if you sense it, and you want to do better, but you don't just think about it. You prayerfully consider what the Word of God says about how to get better.
Yeah. Well, something that was really convicting to me was in Hebrews, where I believe it's Hebrews 10:21 or 19 or something. I can't remember, but it says, excuse me. It says, if you go on sinning after you know the truth, there's no longer a sacrifice that remains, but a fearful expectation of judgment. And that was a very, challenging verse for me, because I was always taught just you can ask for forgiveness all the time, and so it became a cheap kind of grace, as Dietrich Bonhoeffer says, a cheap grace. And so it became something where I was just like, all right, yeah, whatever, your blood is fine, and I'm just gonna keep making sure that it sprinkles on me and I'll be clean. But that challenged me to be like, okay, I have continuously done this thing for years. It's an addiction or whatever it's been. But I need to get out of this because I don't consider the blood of Christ to be something that is cheap. It's cost him everything, and I need to count the cost as well. And so that challenged me to be like, okay, what is still in my way, or what are there things in my life? If you look at any addiction, there's what is that? If you're hungry, tired, or you're up late, like those things tend to lead to sinful behavior, whether it's you're an alcoholic or whatever it is. And so if you're in those situations where you're hungry, you're tired, it's late, then you need to make sure that you are either with someone who's going to encourage you away from that, or you're going to go to sleep or do something that's going to make it so that you are no longer in those situations. And I think that for us, when we look at our sin, we know that there are certain situations where I can no longer be in, or there's certain devices I can no longer have, or there's certain shows I can no longer watch, or whatever it might be. There's certain places I can't go anymore because those places tend to be where I am tempted the most. And so that's kind of where I would go, is like, okay, I may do this again, Lord, and I'm sorry if I do. I really don't want to do it. Can you help me to identify the things that are causing me to, forget about your blood, and to treat it as something that's common when really it's the most sacred thing in my whole life. And so that's kind of what I would say is first we have to repent and say, Lord, I really am sorry, but also identify how can I get myself out of this pattern that I've found myself in over the past several years, months, whatever it might be.
No, I agree. I feel like that's kind of what I do. I try to replace that and try to fix it by knowing the problem, replacing it with something else. Or like when I get mad at people, like, I don't even know why I've been like that, but now I'm like, hey, now I talk to those people more. Now I get to understand more. Now I know it's a me problem. I get that, but I always wonder, am I truly repentant? Because I did it the next day, and I did it the next day. So
well, for my family,
I'm just an angry man.
Yeah.
I'm not.
But to your point, like you talk to more people more, and you apologize quicker than you used to, and those are all areas where you're like, I know I'm growing, and the Lord is working in me.
Yeah, and I'm happier when I'm doing that. But, we get in these moments, as we talked about on the podcast before, about things that go on in life. Life hits you, and you get in these dark spots where you just don't want to talk to people, and then you get angry at people for no reason. And I know it's wrong, and I know that I got to do better. But then I question myself, am I truly repentant about my actions if I keep repeating my actions over and over and over? So I'm like, man, how do I stop this? So, but I appreciate that. That's perfect.
I actually think your recognition of that shows actual repentance, as opposed to, I'll be honest with you, where I grew up originally in church-wise, it was a 1 John 1:9. You confess, you're clean, just admit it. Because I was hammered into me, but it was almost like it was the grace of God was just kind of like almost like a license to sin, right? Kind of like you sort of alluded to that, Seth. And the reality is, if you continue on through 1 John and into chapter 2, it talks about, if you say you don't sin, you're a liar. But if you desire to continue to sin and you think that this is just some cheap trick to confess, you're off. And I'm big time paraphrasing, but you know what I mean? Yeah. It goes into that. And so, there's a reality of recognizing it and trying to be a work in progress and just, knowing that you are.
Yeah.
I think I like to make sure people know, like, you are loved by God. Nothing is beyond redemption. Like all of us are a work in progress. We really are. Even the most holy. We make fun of Seth being holier than thou and stuff, but the reality is, dude, we know. Like, I get it. I know you're a man, and you know what I mean, and you're a normal person. But I think people in our listening audience need to kind of know that all of us are always a work in progress.
Yeah, and then to wrap this up, that's the main reason for the podcast. Like as men, we go to church and we see. I told you, I've been to church and I see people and I think, man, you think you're holier than thou. You think you're better than everybody because you're a Christian. And I feel like I don't want to represent that. I want people to understand that we're real men, that we have these problems. We have these things that we deal with day in and day out. And just because I'm a Christian, I don't think I'm better than anybody. Heck, I think I'm probably worse, to be honest with you.
We're closing, but I got to share, you just pointed a quick factor. I had to share this with my own church the other day. You just said something that you and I are very similar on. People have like kind of a judgy thing, right? And you have Christians who look at people with tattoos or alternative lifestyle, like, or whatever it is, where they're so off put by it that they can't even try to love those people because they just can't believe that, like, ooh, like that. I just can't. And I actually I'm almost the opposite. I'm more used to being kind of in the street kind of a situation. I'm more off put by the holier than thou people wearing suits. I just shared that at my church. Most people would be more like, kind of like, oh, too many earrings, too many this, too much that, rock and roll music, whatever. And I'm like, I'm more at home there.
Yeah.
You just kind of pointed that out too.
Yeah.
I'm almost more, but I was convicted Sunday morning prior to preaching that actually hit me right before I went to church to preach on the message about, like accepting people, prejudice in James, if you get into, right at chapter 2, talking about accepting people. And I literally was like, I was convicted by that because I had been at a funeral and the people were of more of a legalistic, not what I wouldn't consider a Christian religion. And I was almost like mad at them almost. I don't want to, judgy. I was very judgy. Yeah. And I was convicted by it. Like, God sees their heart just as much as he sees the dregs of society's heart and the poor and calls them. He loves them. They're created. They need to hear the truth of Jesus. Yeah. I was convicted by that is all I wanted to share that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Anything to close up? I appreciate that.
Sisyphus. Does that sound right? The Google machine said
Sisyphus. Yeah.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus. I'm like, what?
The Greek.
Sisyphus.
Yeah,
Greek. He was eternally punished and has to push a rock up a hill for eternity.
Ooh, I hurt my back.
Oh no, it's Sisyphus. Okay, that's all I got.
That's what it is. That's
all right. We're gonna wrap it up on that.
Yeah.
Sisyphus. All right. Until next time.
More Greek mythology messages coming.